let's do a couple other things with this. So I had the coordinates of pi over 6 were radical 3 over 2 and 1/2. And for example, the coordinates of pi over 3 were 1/2 radical 3 over 2. The coordinates of pi over 3 are negative 1/2 radical 3 over 2. 5 pi over 6, we have negative radical 3 over 2 comma 1/2. I hope you're seeing the pattern here. At 7 pi over 6, I have negative radical 3 over 2 comma negative 1/2. 4 pi over 3, I have negative 1/2 comma negative radical 3 over 2. At 5 pi over 3, I have positive 1/2 negative radical 3 over 2. And 11 pi over 6, I have positive radical 3 over 2 negative 1/2. So I've identified the coordinates of several special points on a unit circle, and I've already determined that sine is the y value and cosine is the x value. So let's look at a couple other special points. What about this point right there? It's a very interesting point. It's on my initial side. This point on the unit circle, my x value is 1. My y value is 0. So at that point on the unit circle, let's see, let me just move this a little bit. So I say sine 2 pi, or sine 0. Sine 0 is equal to 0. I have no y value there. Cosine 2 pi, or cosine 0, is equal to 1. Well, that's kind of neat. My cosine is equal to 1, my sine is equal to 0. This point right here. Remember, this is an xy axis. X, y axis. This point right here, that is the point 0, comma 1. Sine pi over 2 is equal to 1. Cosine pi over 2 is equal to 0. I come over to this point. This is now negative 1, 0. I've got negative 1 distance x, and my y value is 0. Sine pi is equal to 0. Cosine pi is equal to 1. Negative 1, sorry, negative 1. Oh, don't do that. Negative 1. Now let's go down to 3 pi over 2. We can, following the same logic here, this is the point 0, comma, negative 1. So sine 3 pi over 2 is equal to negative 1. And cosine 3 pi over 2 is equal to 0. This is going to have some interesting ramifications for tangent. Remember, we said tangent is the same thing as sine over cosine. So how about tan 2 pi? Well, my sine at 2 pi is 0. My cosine is 1. So tan 2 pi would be 0 over 1, which is equal to 0. No problem. Tangent can be equal to 0. What about my tangent of pi over 2? Well, it's sine over cosine. At pi over 2, my sine is 1, my cosine is 0. Sine is 1, cosine is 0. Undefined. We'll get into that in greater detail later. Let's look at one more thing on this that's kind of interest. Let's look at my values of cosine. So when I have cosine at 0, so my angle is 0, my cosine at angle 0 is 1. So I'm going to write that down. I made a little chart. So at 0, it's 1. And at pi over 3, it's a half. So pi over 3, it's 1/2. And at 2 pi over 3, it's negative. Oh, let's do pi over 2. At pi over 2, my cosine is 0. At 2 pi over 3, let's put pi over 2 in here. Pi over 2, it's 0. At 2 pi over 3, wrong color. 2 pi over 3, it's negative 1/2. At pi, it's negative 1. At 4 pi over 3, it's negative 1/2. Let's put in 3 pi over 2. It's 0. At 5 pi over 3, it's a half. And we get back to 2 pi, which is the same as 0, it's 1. Well, let's see if we can't graph cosine x. Well, okay, so I've divided my graph here. Let's make it a little bit bigger here. I think I can make my graph a little bit bigger. Not much. Might do it. Yeah, and I put some spots on the graph. I've labeled. I got to move them. Let's relabel them here. So I'm making this 0, and I'm making this pi. So I've divided my pi into pi over 3s, and I can see that this is about pi over 2. And this here is 2 pi. So again, I have my pi over 3 markings, and I have a pi over 2 marking. And over here, I have negative pi, so an angle that goes the opposite direction. Wrong place. Negative pi, I've divided into 3s, and I have negative pi over 2. And I have negative 2 pi, and I have my pi over 3s, and a negative pi over 2. Well, let's see what my points look like. At 0, cosine is equal to, I divide this as a half, and up to the top here is 1. So at 0, cosine is equal to 1. And at the pi over 3 right here, it's equal to a half. And at pi over 2, right there, it's equal to 0. 2 pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, it's equal to negative 1/2. And pi, it's equal to negative 1. 4 pi over 3, it's equal to negative 1/2. 3 pi over 2, it's equal to 0. 5 pi over 3 is equal to a half, and 2 pi is equal to 1 again. Now I'm going to work it backwards as if I was going negative angles, because I know that the angle 5 pi over 3 is the same as negative pi over 3. So I go 1/2, and my next spot is 0, and my next spot is negative 1/2, and my next spot is negative 1. See, I'm just kind of going backwards this way, negative 1, negative 1/2, 0, 1/2, and 1. My graph of cosine, I'm going to try and do this as best I can here. Is a wave. You see it's a wave here? My graph of cosine is a wave with a maximum value of positive 1 and a minimum value of negative 1. And this will go, as long as I keep going around that unit circle, this wave is just going to continue going like that forever.